It's the Subaru WRX, and for today, we've got the wagon.
Wagons in general have been a bit of a niche market lately, and that's mostly because of the rise of SUVs and crossovers. But if you're someone who wants something more practical than a sedan without sacrificing the fun and engagement and driving thrills that a sedan is known for, there is one car you really need to look at, and it's what we have here, the Subaru WRX Wagon. Everyone knows what the WRX is. It's iconic, and for many, it's a car they've dreamed of owning at least once in their life. But what's the wagon version all about? Come on, let's go for a drive.
This is an all-wheel drive vehicle, and so expect a lot of grip when it comes to this car. Now, Subaru in general, for a car that's been known to be famous in rallycross for so many years, expect a sporty orientation every time you drive a Subaru. But with this particular car, with the wagon the way it is, it's also designed to make passengers and families feel comfortable when you take this car out. So, there's a question for you. With a car like this, being known for its sporty heritage, how comfy can it get?
The Subaru WRX Wagon is equipped with bucket seats inside, allowing the driver and the passenger so much comfort for a grand tour. But should the driver fancy a nice and spirited drive, the WRX Wagon also has R18 tires, active torque vectoring, and the symmetrical all-wheel drive system that Subaru has been known to have.
And match all of that with this ride's engine, and as well as the weight of around 1.5 to 1.6 tons when it comes to this wagon. And you have a very good power to weight ratio when it comes to the WRX. And you know what? This car can grip perfectly when taking on corners at speed. Out here, 275 PS of power and 350 Newton meters of torque, all made it to your CVT. And if you're worried about how well this car can stop, well, it's got disc brakes with EBD. Okay, now you might be wondering though, what we have here is a wagon perfect for anything. And if you're not much of a car guy and you're wondering about what the difference of a wagon is to a hatchback, let's say, or even the sedan variant of this car, you might wonder, what is the big difference? Well, let's talk about the numbers.
Compared to any hatchback or sedan, you have to note that the wagon is fundamentally designed to be on the bigger side. The nearest benchmarks of this wagon would be the Mazda 6 hatchback or the BMW 320i Touring Edition. Beginning with the dimensions of the WRX wagon, this is about 4,755mm long and 1,795mm wide, with a height of around 1,500mm. All of this gives you a wheelbase of 2,670mm.
Now, if you compare the wagon to the sedan, one of the things you will notice is that this one is just a little bit bigger. And that's mostly to make sure that you meet the provisions of this WRX being a wagon. But take note, there isn't really much of an effect when it comes to performance figures. Now, with this car at stock, you do have 140mm of ground clearance, which is very livable, very much like a sedan, perfect for the daily. But do take note though that when it comes to Subarus, you could be able to customize depending on your preferences. You could make this a little bit taller if you want to go rallying, or you could also be able to make it lower if you want something more track appropriate. But at its stock configuration, it's very much livable for the daily. Now, if you want a Subaru that stands a little bit taller, there's plenty of alternatives. You could also consider the Crosstrek, the Outback, or even the Forester Hybrid. The side profile of the WRX wagon is a little bit longer, especially if you compare it to the sedan. You have roughly 5 inches more when it comes to length. And you know what? That's a good thing for the simple fact that you could be able to take this car on a school run, do errands with the wife, and have time for a nice and spirited drive. Now, from the side, you have your R18 tires here to go with your symmetrical all-wheel drive system when it comes to this vehicle. And yeah, that all-wheel drive really gives you a lot of grip. Now here in the back, again, you notice a little bit more height there, and with your 140 millimeters of ground clearance, you will notice how livable this car is for the daily, especially if you like sedans but you need more cargo space. Now, one more thing I like about this car is this little detail here. Come closer, take a look at this. I've seen this with a lot of Subarus in the past, but I'm a huge fan of, well, of course you have your foldable side mirrors, but beyond that, you have this little detail here, an extra glass panel. You know, this goes a long way if you're going to be driving in traffic or out in open roads because it gives you just a little bit more visibility to go with your Subaru eyesight.
And this is what the rear looks like. You have a spoiler up on top to go with a backup camera for your convenience, and the lights in the back do have a C-shaped look to it, which adds on to the overall character look of this WRX. One thing to also note is what's going on down below. You have a twin exhaust system that sounds exactly like this.
And that's what it sounds like at stock. Now, that could be your cup of tea, especially if you want something more subtle. Something you could take in and out of the subdivision without really getting any unwanted attention from the neighbors. But remember that if you want something more spirited, something louder, something beefier, remember that Subarus are very customizable. You could be able to change that to a quad exhaust or even something louder to give you a more spirited drive. And this is why you get a Subaru. It's for the open road engagement that this ride can give you. And because it's a wagon, you can carry a few more friends with you along the way. This car's got multiple drive modes, remember that. You have multiple drive modes from Sport Intelligent to Sport Sharp, all of which designed to make your throttle response, your steering response, and your chassis response firmer or softer depending on your preferences. Now, if you put it in Sport Sharp mode, of course, everything feels heavier, everything feels firmer, and that's because you're pretty much ready to go way above the speed limit. But if you're trying to keep things under the speed limit, or if you're trying to keep things economical, Sport Intelligent goes a long way. Makes things just a little bit more comfortable for you and your passengers. Now, given this car's power to weight ratio, let's talk about fuel economy with the WRX Wagon. In the city, we got as good as 7 kilometers per liter. And out here on the open road, it got as good as 17 kilometers per liter with this wagon. Now, something you gotta remember when it comes to the Subaru WRX. WRX stands for World Rally Experimental. This is a car that's built for you to enjoy a good drive. So if you want something more economical, consider the Forester Hybrid. But if you want something more engaging, you could probably get this one in an STI package.
The Subaru WRX Wagon is also equipped with the latest Subaru EyeSight system, making a long drive easier and safer for the one behind the wheel. You also have reverse automatic braking as an added safety feature when you're backing up and somebody passes by on your blind spot. This is also complementary to your EyeSight driver assist technology with autonomous emergency steering and many more.
The Subaru WRX comes with a CVT, and you know, some purists might have something to say about that. But you know, this is a pretty practical way to go. If you're stuck in traffic or if you're out on the open roads, the car knows exactly what to do. There's no shift shocking at low speeds, and out on the open road, the car knows how to engage. Now, if you want the most engagement possible with your CVT, put it in manual mode and activate Sport Sharp mode, and you can really see just how fun this car can get. And you know what? It's a pretty fun experience already. And again, because it's a CVT and because it's an automatic, again, you don't feel tired taking this car out on traffic. Now, if you want something more of a raw experience when it comes to your WRX, do take note that there is still a manual version that is available when it comes to the WRX. Just consult your Subaru dealership or your near Subaru dealership to know more about that manual. But again though, I think the CVT knows exactly what to do. But you know what? How are the passengers gonna be? Are they still gonna be your friends after that nice and long drive? Well, let's talk about how comfy this car's interior can be. And this is where having the wagon makes sense. Look at the back and you have an extra 100 liters of cargo space here with the rear seats in place compared to the sedan variant. Now, what does 100 liters look like? Well, theoretically speaking, look, I have my wagon here in the back inside this wagon, and take a look. My wagon stands pretty tall, and you could be able to fit it in properly and still have space for other things. And okay, let's remove the wagon right now. This is how big this is. And yes, I also do have our Apex box. You know, speaking of Apex box, when I once received this before, there was not a lot of stickers, so got a bit creative during the holiday season. Anyways, here inside, so yeah, I put all of this here in the back, and there's still plenty of space to fit in other items. You also have extra slots here in the back for you to be able to put in other loose items just to keep things a little bit more organized. Now, you also have buttons here on the side for you to be able to fold your rear seats. So that's a good thing when it comes to practicality. Now, if you're not going to be putting a lot of things in your Subaru WRX, you also do have this, a privacy cover, which also goes a long way, especially if you're going to be parking in public places. It gives you just a little bit more privacy, which is a good thing to keep your cargo safe. Speaking of cargo and speaking of the tonneau cover, remember you could also be able to remove this tonneau cover if you don't need it entirely, and it's very much easy to remove. And one more thing is down below. You have an extra platform here for you to be able to put in your spare tools, your jack, and as well as your spare tire.
The front seats of the WRX really does have a sporty look that you can't deny. The seats are bucket type with red stitching, allowing you to have so much bolstering while you go for a nice and long drive.
The interior is well insulated and is very easy to get comfortable as a driver. Now, you have 10-way power adjustable seats here, and there's bolstering at the right places with some red stitching and a bucket type orientation, so you could be able to enjoy a nice, long, and spirited drive when it comes to this WRX. Now, with this car, you also have the same 11.6-inch screen here that you've seen with other Subarus, and you are equipped with the latest Starlink, allowing you to enjoy the perks of having a Subaru. Now, this also has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and if you miss physical buttons, especially with how new and fancy a lot of cars are getting, don't worry. The Subaru's got plenty of buttons for you to enjoy.
The steering wheel has red stitching to it to give it a nice and sporty look. That's also complementary to the buttons that you have here. Now, there is a lot of buttons, and as a newbie or one who hasn't driven a Subaru in a while, it might feel overwhelming at first, but a little bit more drive time with the WRX and you're gonna be perfectly fine. Now, the buttons are mostly for your audio and cruise control settings, with infotainment settings below for your driver's display.
Purists will enjoy the fact that your driver's display is a proper mix of digital and analog. It gives you things that you're familiar with, and it lets you know things that you should know about when it comes to your car. Now, it's nice to see your analog gauges here, and there's a nice and spirited feeling to it, especially when you look at the RPMs as you are driving sporty. There's a nice movement to it. It really inspires confidence. But complementing your confidence there is your driver's display. It lets you know other essential information like your vehicle temperature, your fuel economy, and many, many more. You could see it all right here, complementing your center screen. And take note that with Subarus in general, with the WRX in general, you could be able to customize this car properly. Just choose the right shop and choose the right parts. And if you do your math properly, hey, this car can redline all the way up to 7,000 RPMs.
The rear seats of the WRX Wagon is spacious. It feels roomier than the sedan ever so slightly, and that's because of the added headroom and a bit more knee room. That's me behind me, and it's comfy. There is 2 air vents in the back with USB Type-A ports, and ISOFIX tethers are also available should you travel with the kids.
What I like the most here, though, is that the seats in the back of this wagon could be reclined. Hey, you can't get that from a sedan. Of course, you have your center armrest here and 2 cup holders, but another added feature that you'll enjoy with the WRX is this simple detail. Pull this up, and you have through loading. You could be able to store long items on those trips, but the other thing is that if you need to get anything from your cargo while on the go, hey, it's pretty convenient.
And that's exactly why you get a Subaru WRX. It is for those moments where you want to take a drive away from the city where you can just enjoy the open roads. You gotta remember that WRX stands for World Rally Experimental, and it means that this is a car built to enjoy the thrill of motion. It's a perfect bond between man and machine. And because it's a wagon, the added element of comfort and practicality runs parallel in the element of pure driving engagement. All of that being said, you might wonder, what's actually going on under the hood? Under the hood, the Subaru WRX Wagon gives you a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder boxer engine ready to give you 275 PS of power and 350 Nm of torque.
And this is exactly what a boxer engine looks like. Now, if you've never seen a boxer engine before, or you're not really that familiar with cars, you might be wondering, what is the big difference? Well, first things first, you will notice that there's more of a horizontal look or a wider look when it comes to this car's engine bay. And you know what? That's a good thing, especially when it comes to performance and keeping the engine cool. First thing you'll notice is that the intercooler is up on top, which is a good thing, especially with all of the air intake that you have. It's complemented by your hexagonal grille and your hood scoop up on top. Now, talking about that hood scoop that I showed you earlier today, yes, the air goes from the hood all the way down through here and straight to your intercooler. So again, that's pretty good. You gotta remember that this car is stock, but again, because it's a Subaru, you could be able to customize. So imagine what an STI version could do when it comes to the WRX. Now, when you close your hood, again, this is what your wagon looks like. Now you might be wondering, how does the engine perform like the way it is? Well, it can give you something like this. 3, 2, 1. Oh man, this thing can move. Oh man. This is why you get a WRX. Wow! Okay, the top speed of this car is around 215 kilometers per hour. In its stock configuration, the kids will not be late for school. Now, imagine if you customize. Oh man, I want one.